My dear beloved children, today I want to talk to you about your attitude to what is happening in the world, so that you understand what reactions control you, conscious or subconscious. Now this becomes very important, because many of you are mistaken in your own account, believing that you have reached a high level of consciousness, and hence high vibrations, but in fact, you practically do not move forward, and sometimes even significantly lower your vibrations. Why do some people who have chosen the spiritual path of development, from year to year they are marking time in one place? First of all, because they are guided by their mind, which feeds their ego, but not their soul. You are so accustomed to analyzing, comparing, drawing conclusions, often guided by someone else's opinion, that this has already become entrenched in you at a subconscious level. In this case, if you are a member of any esoteric groups, schools, or are simply adherents of a certain teaching or teacher, then you involuntarily fall under their already established worldview characteristic of them. All this gradually settles in your subconscious, blocking your own energy channel, connecting you with the highest aspects of your soul. Knowing this feature, the reins of government of the esoteric world have long been intercepted by the dark forces. They replaced pure teachings with a surrogate, a half-truth with distorted terms, putting into them the meaning they need. Such false teachers are beautiful spiritual words are turned either into molasses, which significantly reduces their energy and lulls the vigilance of people who have chosen the spiritual path idea, or purposefully lead people towards pseudo-spirituality, putting a completely different meaning into esoteric concepts. Taking advantage of the natural credulity of a person, numerous gurus from esotericism manipulate concepts that are sacred to people, putting into the subconscious of their followers something that actually blocks the connection of a person with his soul and leads him away from the true path of knowing himself and the world around him. And one of their most favorite postulates is the statement that you need to love everyone equally, without dividing people into light and dark, good and evil, insidious and unsophisticated. They are trying to convince people that the complete acceptance of everything and everyone is the height of spirituality and perfection. In fact, this is too straightforward interpretation of common truths, and we will deal with all the subtleties of such statements. So, let's try to understand all the intricacies of such an expression as love everyone equally. Despite the fact that we have already talked a lot about unconditional love, I see that some of you still do not fully understand its real meaning, while others easily fall for the tricks of teachers who are trying to consciously and unconsciously lead people away from the true understanding of love. First of all, let's remember that everything is energy, and love is the most powerful energy in the universe, capable of creating miracles and transforming entire worlds. The energy of love as such is unchanging, but much depends on what meaning a person puts into this concept. And he actually puts into it a lot of meanings, each of which carries its own, already a completely different energy, sometimes opposite to that which was originally embedded in the divine energy of love. And a vivid example of this is the energy of control and suppression, which deftly disguises itself as parental or conjugal love, when one person, out of love for his neighbor, tries to impose his vision of the world and his prices on him. In fact, there are so many varieties of love on earth that, behind all this diversity, its true meaning has almost been lost. Therefore, now we will begin to separate the wheat from the chaff, returning it to its former greatness and the original meaning. But first of all, returning its divine energy, and hence the highest vibrations that it carries in itself. First of all, you need to remember that true love is always unconditional, and only in a low vibration dual in the world, it has overgrown with numerous conditions, turning into an object of sale. So, without even saying it out loud, many people make it clear to their loved ones that they will love them only if they are good, obedient, kind, generous, responsive, and such a list can be continued for a very long time. Naturally, such love has nothing to do with true unconditional love, and even, on the contrary, carries the opposite meaning to it. But, Paradoxical as it may seem, blind love for everyone indiscriminately carries the same negative meaning. Complete dissolution in others, their problems and concerns, is also not unconditional love, because in this case a person completely forgets about love for oneself, which is the basis of true love for others. It is this, at first glance, a noble impulse of a person that those who call to love everyone equally are trying to use. And then I will tell you about what kind of danger it is in oneself conceals. So, let's continue talking about love in its true meaning. And for starters, let's remember why love for yourself is its basis. First of all, because each of you is a part of the Creator, which means dislike for yourself and neglect their own interest are dislike and disrespect for the Creator. Religion played a big role in the humiliation of man, which separated man from the Creator, turning him into a servant of God. And, of course, this is not accidental, since the main goal of the conquerors of your planet and there was the transformation of people into their slaves. And the fact that they used the name of God for this is their greatest crime. As a result, these beings, not having a divine soul, not only placed themselves above the divine them into their slaves, disposing of their lives at their own discretion. They deliberately perverted the teachings of my beloved Son Yeshua, leaving only grains of truth in the Bible, for they understood that it was not easy for them to completely forget it, it turns out. And the very concept of love in the religious understanding of this word has been distorted so much that it has lost its original meaning, becoming almost synonymous with obedience to God, authorities, elders in age and rank. It is no coincidence that priests are called the vicars of God on earth. This is how the hierarchical worship of ordinary people to those higher in all branches of power was created. And here there can be no talk of any love for oneself. Therefore, self-denial was elevated to the greatest virtue. Just think about the meaning of this word. After all, in fact, renunciation of oneself is at the same time a renunciation of the Creator, of the all-encompassing and most powerful energy of unconditional love, which he carries in himself. Why do many people feel such a strong rejection of sugary words about love? The fact is that people intuitively feel their falsity, the discrepancy between words and deeds. What comes from the heart and from the soul is always simple and natural. True love is not servile, but full of human dignity. It is laconic and always sincere. She is filled with respect for herself and others. What is done to the detriment of oneself cannot carry real love in itself. And that's why such behavior contains an element of slavery, the desire to please one's neighbor and deserve his love. But this is precisely what is introduced into the greatest virtue by religion and society. And just imagine what kind of energies such echoes of love carry in themselves, perverted and crippled, having lost its greatness and original meaning. And finally, we return to the beginning of our conversation about love, about the meaning of the expression love everyone equally. Is there some kind of catch here? In order to understand this, remember those who call for this. What feelings do you have for these people? Do you trust them or are you wary of them? Do you feel the level of their vibrations or judge them only by their statements? Now it is very important to learn to read the vibrations of the people you see and hear, because the world has drowned in lies, hypocrisy and double standards. Words have become a cover for the crimes of the world's elite, and the more serious these crimes, the more beautiful the words behind which they are trying to hide them. As for the esoteric world, here, too, these arbiters of human destinies use their favorite technique, to hide the true face behind beautiful words. And most often they act through intermediaries who consciously or unconsciously say something what is beneficial for these beings who remain behind the scenes. And this is how it happens. Suppose a pure human soul, which came to Earth to undergo a unique experience of the transition into the fifth dimension, enters the service. This person immediately falls into the field of view of those who monitor the appearance of such dangerous people for them. They are immediately taken into circulation by the collective consciousnesses of the reptilians, Orions and other low-vibration civilizations, the purpose of which is not at all to increase the vibrations of people, to work astral entities. Clones and specially created computer programs are connected, posing as living people, who begin to uncontrollably flatter the newly minted guru, thereby provoking his ego to the negative energies of pride and narcissism. Unbeknownst to this person, they put honeyed beautiful phrases that actually do not contribute to an increase in the spirituality of people who fall into the orbit of such teachers, but, on the contrary, lower their vibrations. But everything is done so subtly and sophisticatedly that neither this person nor his followers notice the substitution, continuing to revel in their ever-increasing, in their opinion, purity and spirituality. Now this happens all the time, with taking into account already catastrophic scales. It is these people who call to love everyone, not dividing into friends and foes, good and bad, good and evil. And in this case, without knowing it, they distort the concept of love, just as they do priests calling for humility and self-denial. So, for example, if you love the reptilians and Orions who are trying to destroy humanity as a species, then you show all the same servility and humility, refusing not only to show your free will, but also to defend your right to exist. The victim cannot love your executioner. Everyone who claims the opposite is lying. And next time we will talk with you about how to keep balance in your soul and keep love in your heart without going to extremes and not succumbing to the tricks of eloquent guru. Your infinitely loving Father.